Picture this. A drunk driver tears through a children's playground at 62 miles per hour. 12 kids scatter in terror. And when he stops, he doesn't apologize. He doesn't call for help. He screams at the traumatized children to get out of his way. This isn't fiction. This is the true story of Marcus Hendris, a medical student who believed his family's reputation made him untouchable. But he was about to meet Judge Frank Caprio, and what happened next would destroy everything he thought he knew about privilege and power. Sunday morning, 9:45 a.m. The doors of Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom swing open, and in walks 21-year-old Marcus Hendris like he owns the place. Designer clothes draped across his frame, the kind that cost more than most families spend on groceries in a month. Bloodshot eyes, hidden behind sunglasses that probably cost what some people make in a week. And his demeanor? Pure, unadulterated arrogance. This wasn't just any privileged college kid. Marcus Hendris was medical royalty. His father, Dr. Jonathan Hendris, wasn't just a doctor. He was the doctor, chief surgeon at Rhode Island Hospital, one of the most respected cardiac specialists on the entire East Coast, the man who held beating hearts in his hands and brought people back from the edge of death. His mother, Dr. Sarah Hendris, ran the state's premier pediatric practice. She dedicated her life to saving children, to protecting the most vulnerable members of society. Marcus grew up surrounded by life and death decisions. He watched his parents make choices where precision mattered, where responsibility meant everything, where a single mistake could cost someone their life. But here's the twisted irony. Marcus learned all the wrong lessons. He absorbed the prestige without the ethics. He took the authority without the accountability. He developed the confidence without the competence. He saw his parents' accomplishments and decided the rules that governed ordinary people simply didn't apply to him. For 21 years, Marcus had been told he was destined for greatness. For 21 years, every mistake had been swept under the rug, every consequence avoided, every door opened by his family's name and reputation. But today, Marcus Hendris would finally face the one thing his family's money and influence couldn't buy him: justice. 3 days earlier, Saturday afternoon, Riverside Elementary School's playground. The sun was shining. Children were laughing. Parents were watching their kids play basketball, swing on the playground equipment, run around with the carefree joy that only childhood provides. 12 children, ages 6 to 10, living in that beautiful moment of innocence where the worst thing in the world is a scraped knee or not getting picked first for kickball. They had no idea what was about to happen. Marcus Hendris had been drinking since noon at a fraternity party. Beer after beer, shot after shot, his blood alcohol level climbing to a staggering 0.18, more than twice the legal limit. When his friends suggested calling an Uber, Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. His exact words? "Rules are for people whose dads don't save lives for a living." Let that sink in. He genuinely believed that because his father was a surgeon, traffic laws didn't apply to him. At 4:30 p.m., Marcus slid behind the wheel of his Mercedes AMG G63, a $180,000 luxury SUV that weighed over 6,000 pounds. A vehicle that could crush a small car, let alone a child's body. He was drunk, he was arrogant, and he was about to make a decision that would change lives forever. Marcus decided to take a shortcut through the elementary school parking lot and playground to avoid Saturday afternoon traffic. Yes, you heard that right. He deliberately drove through a children's playground because he didn't want to sit in traffic like everyone else. Security cameras captured everything. The footage shows Marcus's massive Mercedes speeding through the school's front gates like a missile, across the basketball courts where teenagers were playing, and then directly through the playground where 12 children were playing under their parents' watchful eyes. Imagine being a parent in that moment. You're watching your child play. Everything is peaceful. And suddenly, you hear an engine roaring. You turn your head and see a massive SUV barreling toward your child at highway speeds. The children scattered in absolute terror, their screams piercing the afternoon air. 7-year-old Emma Rodriguez was knocked to the ground when another child pushed her out of the way, scraping her knees and arms raw on the concrete. The physical wounds would heal. The psychological trauma? That would last a lifetime. 9-year-old Michael Santos was so traumatized by nearly being crushed under Marcus's tires that he suffered a full-blown panic attack right there on the playground. His parents had to rush him to the emergency room, his small body shaking uncontrollably, unable to breathe. These weren't just scared kids. These were children who came within inches of being killed by a drunk driver. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. Marcus Hendris stopped his Mercedes. He rolled down his window. And instead of apologizing, instead of calling 911, instead of checking if anyone was hurt, he yelled at them. "Get your brats out of the road. Some people have places to be." Then he drove away. Just drove away. Left behind tire marks carved into the playground mulch like scars. Left behind traumatized children and parents. Left behind a community that would never feel safe again. When police finally caught up with Marcus 2 hours later at his family's waterfront mansion, because of course they had a waterfront mansion, he was still drunk, still unrepentant, still completely convinced he'd done nothing wrong. His first words to the arresting officers, "Do you know who my father is? He saves more lives in a week than you'll ever protect in your entire career." Even in handcuffs, facing multiple felony charges, Marcus Hendris believed he was above the law. Now, 3 days later, Marcus stands before Judge Frank Caprio with that same arrogant smirk plastered across his face. He removes his sunglasses with theatrical flair, like he's performing for an audience. "Good morning, Your Honor," he says, his tone dripping with condescension, as if this hearing is nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Judge Caprio looks up from the case file. His expression darkens as he reviews the police report, the witness statements, the security footage that showed everything. "Mr. Hendris," the judge begins, his voice measured, but carrying the weight of 30 years on the bench. "You're charged with driving under the influence, reckless endangerment of children, destruction of public property, fleeing the scene of an accident, and assault with a deadly weapon. How do you respond to these charges?" Marcus's attorney, Elizabeth Thornton, a high-priced lawyer, who probably charged more per hour than most people made in a week, rises immediately. "Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty to all charges. We believe this was an unfortunate misunderstanding." Judge Caprio's eyebrows rise slowly. "Ms. Thornton, are you suggesting that driving drunk through a children's playground is a misunderstanding?" Before his attorney can respond, Marcus interrupts. Actually interrupts his own lawyer in open court. "Your Honor, there were some kids around, but they were fine. Nobody got hurt. This whole thing is being treated like I committed mass murder, when all I did was take a shortcut." The courtroom falls into stunned silence. You could hear a pin drop. Judge Caprio slowly removes his reading glasses, his eyes locking onto Marcus with laser focus. "Mr. Hendris, did you just describe driving drunk through a playground full of children as taking a shortcut?" Marcus realizes he might have misspoken, but instead of backing down, he doubles down. "Your Honor, I'm a medical student at Brown University. I understand risk assessment. If there had been any real danger to those children, I would have taken precautions." The audacity is breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. "Risk assessment," Judge Caprio repeats slowly, as if he can't quite believe what he's hearing. "Explain your risk assessment, Mr. Hendris." Marcus leans forward slightly, his voice taking on that condescending tone people use when they think they're smarter than everyone else in the room. "My blood alcohol level was only slightly elevated. and my driving skills are exceptional. I've taken advanced physics courses. I understand vehicle dynamics better than the average driver. Judge Caprio's expression shifts from surprise to disbelief. Mr. Hendris, your blood alcohol level was 0.18. That's more than twice the legal limit. Marcus waves his hand dismissively, as if the judge is nitpicking over details. Your Honor, those tests are notoriously inaccurate. As someone with medical training, I can metabolize alcohol much more efficiently than the average person. My body processes it differently. The courtroom erupts in gasps and whispered conversations. This medical student, this 21-year-old who hadn't even finished his undergraduate degree, was claiming that his pre-med studies made him immune to the effects of alcohol. Judge Caprio leans forward. Mr. Hendris, are you claiming that medical expertise exempts you from drunk driving statutes? I'm saying that people with advanced scientific training should be trusted to make intelligent decisions about their own capabilities. Marcus responds, completely serious. His attorney, Elizabeth Thornton, looks like she wants to crawl under the table. She stands quickly, trying desperately to control the damage. Your Honor, my client is young and sometimes chooses his words poorly. Marcus immediately contradicts his own lawyer, again. Actually, Ms. Thornton, I chose my words carefully. This court needs to understand that not all violations are created equal. When someone with my background and training makes a judgment call, it's based on scientific knowledge, not reckless impulse. Judge Caprio's voice becomes ice cold. Mr. Hendris, 12 children nearly died because of your scientific judgment. Marcus's voice takes on that patronizing tone again. Your Honor, nobody nearly died. That's pure hyperbole. I had complete control of my vehicle at all times. These parents are just overreacting because they don't understand automotive safety or the physics of vehicle control. The judge leans forward, his eyes never leaving Marcus's face. Mr. Hendris, do you have children? Not yet, Marcus responds, then adds with a smirk, but when I do, they'll be raised with scientific literacy and rational thinking instead of emotional hysteria. The words hit the courtroom like a bomb. Parents in the gallery gasp audibly. Some cover their mouths in shock. Others shake their heads in disbelief. Marcus Hendris has just dismissed the terror of watching your child almost get killed as emotional hysteria. Mr. Hendris, Judge Caprio says, slowly, each word deliberate. You believe parents who watched you nearly run over their children are being hysterical. I believe parents who can't distinguish between actual danger and perceived risk need better education in probability and statistics. Marcus responds, matter-of-factly. Judge Caprio's voice becomes absolutely glacial. Mr. Hendris, did you stop to check if any children were injured after your Mercedes went through the playground? For the first time, Marcus shifts uncomfortably. I could see from my vehicle that nobody was seriously hurt. You could see from your vehicle? My father taught me basic triage assessment, Marcus explains, as if this is perfectly reasonable. When someone is seriously injured, there are obvious visual indicators: bleeding, unconsciousness, distorted limbs. None of the children exhibited those symptoms. I applied medical principles to determine that immediate intervention was unnecessary. The courtroom explodes. People are shouting. Parents are crying. The bailiff has to call for order. Marcus has just admitted to conducting medical triage from behind the wheel of the vehicle that almost killed those children. Medical intervention, Judge Caprio says slowly. Like calling 911? Marcus actually rolls his eyes. 911 should be reserved for actual emergencies, not minor playground incidents that result in scraped knees. The judge has heard enough entitled defendants to fill several lifetimes. But Marcus represents something unprecedented, someone using medical knowledge as a weapon of callousness. Mr. Hendris, the judge continues, several parents reported that you yelled at the children and their families before leaving the scene. What exactly did you say? Marcus's voice becomes defensive. People were shouting at me before I even got out of my vehicle. I simply pointed out that children shouldn't be playing in areas where vehicles might need to pass through. Areas where vehicles might need to pass through, Judge Caprio repeats. You're referring to an elementary school playground? School playgrounds are technically public property, Marcus argues. During non-school hours, they're accessible to vehicular traffic for maintenance and emergency purposes. The signage wasn't clear about restricted access times. Judge Caprio's patience finally snaps. Mr. Hendris, are you suggesting that elementary school playgrounds are appropriate shortcuts for drunk drivers? I'm suggesting that public spaces should be used efficiently by people who understand how to navigate them safely. Marcus's attorney looks mortified as her client continues to self-destruct with every word. Mr. Hendris, Judge Caprio presses, what exactly did you yell at those families after almost killing their children? Marcus realizes this question is dangerous, but he can't resist defending himself. I may have pointed out that parents have a responsibility to supervise their children in areas where unexpected situations might occur. Unexpected situations like drunk drivers? Situations requiring quick reflexes and situational awareness, Marcus clarifies. If parents had been properly supervising their children, they would have moved them out of the way more quickly. The fact that children were still in the path of my vehicle when I came through indicates a lack of adequate supervision. The nuclear bomb of entitlement has finally detonated. Marcus Hendris has just blamed parents for not protecting their children quickly enough from his drunk driving. The courtroom erupts in absolute chaos. Parents are shouting, people are crying. The bailiff is calling for order. And Marcus stands there, genuinely confused about why everyone is so upset. Judge Caprio stands up, a gesture that immediately silences the entire courtroom. When Judge Frank Caprio stands during a hearing, everyone knows something significant is about to happen. Mr. Hendris, the judge says, his voice carrying the weight of 3 decades protecting public safety. You are blaming parents for failing to protect their children from your decision to drive drunk through their playground. Marcus, incredibly, doubles down. I'm saying that in any situation involving potential risk, responsible adults should maintain awareness and take appropriate precautions. Appropriate precautions, Judge Caprio repeats. Against medical students driving drunk through playgrounds? Appropriate precautions against any unexpected vehicular traffic in areas where children are present. And then Marcus makes his final, most catastrophic mistake. Your Honor, I think you're allowing emotional reactions to cloud your legal judgment. This case involves a minor traffic violation that has been sensationalized because of who my family is and what my future career represents. The courtroom explodes in shocked gasps and angry murmurs. Marcus has just told Judge Frank Caprio, a man who has presided over thousands of cases with fairness and compassion, that his legal judgment is compromised by emotion. Mr. Hendris, Judge Caprio says slowly, you just accused this court of bias while minimizing drunk driving through a children's playground as a minor traffic violation. Marcus's arrogance reaches its absolute peak. Your Honor, I'm suggesting that people with medical training should be held to different standards because we understand risk management in ways that ordinary people cannot. We're destined to save lives. We should be trusted to make informed decisions about acceptable risk levels. Judge Caprio's final patience expires completely. Mr. Hendris, Judge Caprio begins, his voice carrying the authority of 30 years on the bench. You believe medical students should be exempt from laws that protect children? I believe people destined to save lives should be trusted with greater discretion in emergency situations, Marcus responds. Judge Caprio delivers his judgment with the precision of a surgeon and the moral authority of a man who has spent his entire career fighting for justice. Mr. Hendris, you are found guilty of all charges. Your actions created a life-threatening emergency for 12 children. You demonstrated complete disregard for public safety, and you have revealed a character utterly unsuited for any profession involving responsibility for human life. The judge pauses, letting the weight of his words sink in. You are sentenced to 2 years in state prison for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and child endangerment. Marcus's face goes white. His mouth opens, but no sound comes out. Finally, he manages to speak. 2 years? Your Honor, that will destroy my medical school admission. Judge Caprio's response is immediate and devastating. Mr. Hendris, your medical school admission was destroyed the moment you decided children's lives were less important than your convenience. Marcus's attorney stands desperately. Your Honor, we request immediate appeal bond. The judge interrupts. Your client represents a continuing danger to public safety and has shown absolutely no remorse for nearly killing children. Bail is denied. Then, Judge Caprio delivers his next blow. Additionally, you are permanently banned from operating any motor vehicle in the state of Rhode Island. You will never drive in this state again, Marcus screams, his composure completely shattered. You can't destroy my entire future over one mistake. Judge Caprio's voice becomes even more severe. Mr. Hendris, driving drunk through a playground full of children was not a mistake. It was a choice that revealed your character. It was a decision that demonstrated exactly who you are when you think you're above consequences. Then, the judge delivers his most devastating blow. Furthermore, this court will be forwarding a complete record of these proceedings to the Rhode Island Board of Medical Licensure, with a recommendation that you be permanently barred from any medical profession in this state. Marcus's world collapses completely. His legs nearly give out. You can't do that. My father has spent his entire career building our family's medical reputation. Judge Caprio's final words echo through the courtroom with absolute moral authority. Your father built his reputation saving lives, Mr. Hendris. You nearly destroyed multiple lives. The difference between you and your father is what defines character. Your father dedicated his life to helping others. You endangered children because you didn't want to sit in traffic. Your father understands that expertise comes with responsibility. You believe expertise exempts you from responsibility. That's why he's a surgeon and you never will be. As bailiffs approach Marcus with handcuffs, he makes one final desperate attempt to leverage his family's status. Your Honor, my family will appeal this to the state Supreme Court. My father knows every judge in Rhode Island. You're making a career-ending mistake. Judge Caprio looks at Marcus one final time. His expression isn't angry. It's something worse. It's disappointment mixed with absolute certainty. Mr. Hendris, your father's medical expertise couldn't prevent you from choosing to endanger children. His political connections won't save you from the consequences of who you've chosen to become. You had every advantage in life, the best education, the best opportunities, parents who dedicated their lives to helping others. And you used all of it to justify nearly killing children because you were too arrogant to call an Uber. Marcus Hendris is led away in handcuffs, screaming about injustice and ruined futures. His designer clothes now wrinkled, his expensive sunglasses fallen to the courtroom floor. The 12 families in the gallery watch him go. Some are crying. Some are holding their children close. All of them know that justice, real justice, has finally been served. 6 months later, Marcus serves his sentence while his former classmates advance through medical school without him. His father, Dr. Jonathan Hendris, the respected cardiac specialist who had saved countless lives, resigns from his hospital position, not because he was forced to, but because he can't face his colleagues, knowing his son nearly killed children while drunk. The weight of that shame, the betrayal of everything he stood for, is too much to bear. His mother, Dr. Sarah Hendris, continues her pediatric practice. But now, every child she treats Every life she protects is haunted by the knowledge that her own son viewed children as obstacles to be shouted at and driven around. The families of those 12 children slowly heal. Emma Rodriguez, who was knocked down on the playground, still has nightmares sometimes. But she's in therapy, and she's getting better. Michael Santos, who had the panic attack, takes things day by day. His parents make sure he knows he's safe, that he's loved, that what happened wasn't his fault. Judge Frank Caprio keeps a photo of the playground security footage on his desk, not as a reminder of Marcus Hendris, but as a testament to the 12 children who survived, as a reminder that sometimes the greatest service a court can provide isn't showing mercy to the privileged. It's ensuring that privilege never again becomes a weapon against the innocent. Because that's what justice really means. Not protecting those with power and connections. Not giving second chances to people who have never faced consequences. Real justice means protecting the vulnerable from those who believe they're above the rules. Real justice means holding people accountable, regardless of their last name or their family's reputation. Real justice means saying, clearly and without hesitation, your privilege ends where another person's safety begins. Marcus Hendris learned that lesson the hard way. He lost everything, his freedom, his future, his dreams, because he believed children's lives mattered less than his convenience. And somewhere in Rhode Island, 12 children are alive today because one judge refused to let privilege trump justice.